Good evening friends, welcome to the video. As we have seen in another lecture on sales contract and order confirmation, InCoTerms is a very important part of a commercial contract, especially a foreign sales contract. InCoTerms talks about the point of transfer of ownership, responsibility and risk. Appropriate InCoTerms has to be chosen depending upon the goods, the shipment, the ports, the documents required and things like that. The seller's obligation escalates from X works to DDP. There are 7 terms for any mode of transport, while 4 are specific to sea or waters transport. The InCoTerms 2010 is the latest version effective 1st January. We shall see each and every term in detail to the extent possible in this small, short, brief introductory video. X works in any place of delivery. Suppose we have a term X works Chennai. It means it will be delivered by the supplier at Chennai. Most of the time it will be his warehouse or his factory. So it is a named place of delivery, it is not just a port. So you can have a port or you should have a place. If it is a place, you should say factory or warehouse, which gate of the factory or warehouse, or where exactly delivery will happen. To go in detail, we should understand that ICC had published a booklet called Guide to InCoTerms, which has some 200 pages. So it is to that extent that InCoTerms is very deep, vast and wide subject for us to understand and appreciate. From basics to trade finance perspective, or from preparation to the examination for certificate in documentary credit specialist perspective, CDCS examination perspective, we shall look in brief the basic or the core concepts of the InCoTerms. X works named place of delivery. Suppose we are talking in terms of importer. The importer has to arrange for export and import licenses. The importer has to arrange for export and import licenses. He has to arrange for customs clearances. He has to bear all the cost and risk from the point of delivery. He has to bear all the cost and all the risk from the point of delivery. The importer has to provide documentary evidence of having taken delivery. The importer has to provide evidence for having taken delivery. And the importer has to reimburse to the exporter the cost and risk for the assistance provided for facilitating obtention of documents for import, for export, for customs, for transport, etc. If you look at the exporter's perspective, exporter would have completed the delivery or would have completed his responsibility when the exporter places the goods at the importer's disposal at the named place. So if you are placing the goods at your factory gate number 4, the moment you give a notice that you will place the goods on 1st January 2014, 1st January 2015, 1st January 2016 afternoon 3 o'clock, then at that point in time the importer has to arrange to take delivery of goods, and at that point in time 3 o'clock when you place the goods on 1st January 2015 or 2016, whatever date you have agreed upon, at that particular place the 4th gate of your factory in Chennai at some industrial estate, delivery is supposed to have completed, and the exporter's responsibility and risk stops there. The exporter need not load into the collecting vehicle. The importer would have brought his own means of conveyance to transport the goods or arranged a nominee to pick up the goods, and exporter need not load the goods into the collecting vehicle. Exporter need not arrange for export clearance, any license or any customs formalities he need not do. He need not arrange for carriage, contract of carriage. He need not arrange for insurance beyond the point of delivery, beyond the point which is in our case gate number 4, industrial estate of at Chennai city, the industrial estate where the manufacturing factory of this company is situated. The exporter may provide at importer's risk, importer's expense. If the importer requests at importer's risk and expense, exporter may provide assistance and information. For what? For obtaining transport document, for obtaining insurance, for obtaining security clearance, for obtaining export license. The exporter may at importer's request, risk and expense, arrange for export license, security clearance, documents for carriage and insurance. So these are the responsibilities of various parties. So that is why we say X works, the exporter has least responsibility and importer has most responsibility. And as we move from X works to FCA to CPT to CIP, the responsibility of exporter will keep on increasing and responsibility of the importer will keep on decreasing. Now let us have a look at the FCA, free carrier. Free carrier is a term which we will use for normally other than sea mode of transport. It could be surface transport, it could be air. You can have a FCA Delhi airport, you can have a FCA ICT, that is inland container terminal, you can have a dry port, you can have FCA city, maybe Taif in Saudi Arabia or maybe Ras Al Khaimah in UAE. You can have FCA any place. What are the responsibilities of exporter? For an exporter, the delivery is complete when the goods are delivered to the carrier. Who could be the carrier? It could be the carrier arranged by the exporter or a carrier nominated by the importer. So, sorry for this. When exporter delivers to the carrier, importer is nominee. At the given place, delivery is said to be complete. Exporter should clear the goods for export. Exporter should obtain license for export. Exporter should obtain customs clearances and authorization at exporter's own risk and expense. In earlier case in X-Works, exporter was not arranging any license or customs clearance. In FCA, exporter will arrange for license for export as well as customs clearance. Exporter may contract for carriage. It is not compulsory, but he may contract for carriage, and if he does so, he will do at the request, risk and expense of the buyer, that is the importer. At importer's risk, he will also arrange for insurance or provide information for insurance, and he will provide proof that goods have been delivered. Here, the exporter has to provide proof goods has been delivered. In X-Works, the importer has to provide proof that he had taken delivery. Here, exporter delivers when he gives the goods to the carrier. Free carrier means you place it on the carrier, you load it onto the carrier nominated by the importer, and there your responsibility ends. If something breaks while loading, you have to replace and ensure that the goods loaded are as per the expectations of the importer. What the importer should do? Importer should obtain import license. He has to arrange for contract of carriage of goods. He is not obligated to insure, and he has to accept the proof of delivery provided. If he wants a different type of document in the form of proof of delivery, he has to specify in the contract. Here it says the exporter is not responsible for insurance, but he will provide information, and it also says importer is not obligated to insure. Why? As an exporter, he completes his responsibility or his obligation by delivering to the party nominated by the importer. Thereafter, his responsibility is over. Thereafter, the risk and title passes to the importer. If the importer wants his goods to be safe, he can insure. He is not responsible to provide any evidence to anybody, but if he wants, he can insure. If he doesn't want, it is his risk, self-insurance risk. Now let us turn our attention to CPT, Carriage Paid To. When we talk about CPT, Carriage Paid To, when we look at the exporter's responsibilities, the delivery is complete when the exporter delivers to the carrier or a nominee of the importer. The exporter to contract for and pay for the carriage. Exporter's obligation is fulfilled when it is handed over to the carrier, not necessarily when it reaches the destination. In FCA, we are talking about the place of delivery. In CPT, we are talking about the place destination. So, though the contract has to be arranged up to destination and freight liability paid by the exporter up to destination, the obligation is over when it is handed over to carrier, not necessarily at a destination. The customs formalities for export of goods through any country, if necessary, will have to be done at exporter's risk and expense. The contract for transport from the point of delivery to the destination at exporter's expense. Not obligated for insurance, but exporter will provide the usual set of transport documents to enable the buyer to take delivery of goods. It will also enable the buyer to sell the goods in transit. What are the responsibilities of the importer? He has to obtain import license. He has to complete customs formalities for transport of goods through any country. Transport of goods through any country means, suppose the transport is by road or rail and it is passing through multiple countries. Each country may ask, this goods is being imported, what is this? When the goods enter the country. So related formalities to allow the goods to be imported and pass through or transport through that country, importer has to take care. While exporter is responsible for arranging export from that country and export through that country and transport through that country. The importer is not obligated for the carriage of contract because the exporter is already placing the goods on a carrier nominated by the importer, and the transaction is that carriage paid to. Sorry guys for having this problem with the Windows. The importer has also specified the dates, contents, etc. of the issuer of the transport document, as well as the mode and other terms and formats. That means what type of transport document is acceptable. Is it a non-negotiable CUA bill? Is it a Charter Party BL? Is it a normal port-to-port BL? What is the transport document you want? What should be the format? How it should be? What are the terms to be evidenced in it? What should be the goods? Who should be the issuer? Can an agent issue? Who should be signed? And things like that. It should also say when it should be issued, when it should be put on board, what dates it should evidence, and things like that. It is the responsibility of the importer to inform the exporter as to what should be the content or the style or the format of the transport document. Let us turn our attention now to CIP. CIP is cost and insurance paid. Carriage is paid and insurance paid up to a destination port. CIP up to destination port. When we look at the exporter completes the delivery when he delivers the goods to the carrier or the party nominated by the importer. Exporter should contract for and pay for the carriage up to the destination port or place. His obligation is complete when he hands over to the carrier, not necessarily when the goods reach destination. Whether it reaches destination or not, the obligation is over when it hands over to the carrier and obtains a document evidencing that. The exporter has to obtain export license at their own risk. They also have to arrange for customs clearance for export to and shipment through and transport through any other country before reaching the destination. The contract carriage or the carriage for contract to the named destination should be on usual terms in the customary route. You should not purposefully send the goods in a roundabout route. It should have the usual terms like a JWOB cover and things like that. And because it is CIP, cost insurance carriage paid up to a particular port, you have to arrange for insurance. The exporter has to arrange for insurance. Minimum should be ICC cover. Normally we will ask for A cover, but minimum should be C cover. It should be minimum for 110% of the value, and it should be in the currency of the invoice or the transaction. What are the responsibilities or roles or duties of the importer? Importer has to obtain the import license. He has to complete the customs formalities for import into and transport through any other country through which the goods will pass during the transit up to the point of destination. The importer, there is no obligation for carriage or insurance because both are taken care by the exporter, and he has to specify the terms and conditions of the transport document and insurance document clearly. The importer should say what risk should the insurance policy cover. It should be ICCA or ICCC or what. It should also see what covers it, jettisoning and washing on board, or strike rat and civil commotion, or terrorism clause, or millennium clause. What risk should it cover? Is it warehouse to warehouse clause? How much percentage insurance should be? 110, 125? And it should be where the claim should be payable and what other information he wants in the insurance policy. Like that. Likewise, the importer should also mention the details about the transport document, whether Charter Party BL is acceptable, whether the BL should evidence the onboard date, who should be the signatory of the BL, and which shipping company is not acceptable, whether you need any age of the vessel certificate, what should be the date of shipment as per the BL, and things like that. These information should be clearly given by the importer under CIP terms so that exporter may comply to the same. Let us look at DAT. DAT, DAP, DDP are normally used when the terminals are used and not a port is used, like maybe it's a cross terminal or a multi-transport terminals like internal ICT, inland container terminal and things like that, containerized shipments most of the time. What are the responsibilities of the exporter? Exporter has no obligation for insurance. He has to provide a document that will enable the importer to take delivery of goods. He has to provide a document that will enable the importer to take delivery of goods. It is not necessarily we are talking about transport document. We are just saying any document that will enable him to take delivery of goods. He has to contract for and pay for carriage up to terminal destination. He has to bring the goods up to the terminal at the destination that we are talking about. The exporter also has to obtain export license at his own risk and expense, and the customs formality for moving the goods as an export and through transport to any country until it reaches the destination. Delivery is complete when goods are placed at the importer's risk at the terminal. Delivery is complete when goods are placed at importer's risk at the named terminal. It can be placed on the arriving means of conveyance and need not be unloaded. If it is coming by aircraft, it need not be taken out of aircraft. If it is coming by truck, it need not be unloaded from truck. If the goods are kept at the terminal, at the disposal of the buyer, ready for unloading, then it means delivery is complete. Just you notify that the goods are ready for unloading, delivery is complete. What are the responsibilities of importer? He has to complete the customs formalities. Sorry guys. He has to complete the customs formalities for import and transport through the various countries so as to reach the destination. He has to provide format and content of the terms of delivery enabling document. So he wants a document that will enable him to take delivery. So what should be the terms and conditions of such a document? Is it just a delivery order? Is it a warehouse receipt? What document he wants? How it should be? Who should be issuer? What should be evidence? What should be the content? All that information importer has to provide. And importer is not obligated for insurance or carriage because goods are already arriving at the terminal which is in the destination port. Now let us turn our attention to DAP, delivered at a place, at a named destination place. This place is not a terminal but a place beyond the terminal at the destination port or place. Delivery is complete when the exporter places the goods at the importer's disposal, same as DAT, but here it is ready for unloading, same as DAT. He has to obtain customs clearance for transport through any country and export licenses. The exporter has to arrange for carriage of goods up to destination point, no obligation for insurance. He has to provide documents that will enable the importer to take delivery of goods. The difference between DAT and DAP will in most of the time will be DAT will be a terminal where DAP will be a place, probably beyond the terminal. And the responsibility for the importer is he has to obtain import license and customs approval for transport of these goods through any country till it reaches the destination. Import customs clearance for transport of goods through any country till it reaches the place of destination. The importer is not responsible for carriage or insurance because the goods will be carried safely and brought up to this place and the place of destination, which is in all probability the importer's place. And importer has to specify the terms and conditions of the documents required. What is the document that exporter will give? He will give a document that will enable the importer to take delivery of goods if necessary. Now we shall look at DDP, the last term among the 7 terms which are used for any mode of transport, delivered, duty paid. This is a situation where exporter will complete the delivery only when he places the goods at importer's disposal at the destination unloaded. In DAT and DAP, the goods are not unloaded. It is kept ready for unloading. While in DDP, it is unloaded from the arriving means of conveyance. It is customs cleared. All the customs duty, all the licenses, export and import has to be taken care by the exporter and ensure that it reaches the duties are paid up to the point where it reaches the importer. The contract, he has to contract for the carriage and he has to pay for up to destination place. He is not obligated for insurance because he is bringing the goods safely up to the destination, and he has to provide a document to enable the importer to take delivery of goods. While he provides a document to take delivery of goods, the importer has to provide what should be the content, style, format of that particular document that enables the importer to take delivery of goods. And importers arrange for import license and customs authorization to bring the goods into this particular place where it is to be delivered, duty paid. Customs duty will be paid by importer, but the licenses will be arranged by the importer at the request and cost of the exporter. Let us turn our attention to the most famous term FOB for sea shipment, free on board. Free on board, the delivery port. FOB is a delivery port. Delivery port is a port of the exporter. What are the responsibilities? Delivery is complete when they deliver it or loaded on board a named vessel. When it is delivered, A, loaded on board a named vessel, B, procured such goods loaded on a vessel. If somebody else loads the goods on a vessel and if you procure that goods, it's enough. Or you yourself deliver by loading on a vessel, it is good enough. And if you make such a loading on a named vessel, then delivery is complete by the exporter. The responsibility is over once it is loaded on the vessel. He has to obtain, the exporter has to obtain export license and complete the customs authorization. And exporter is not obligated for carriage or insurance. He need not pay for carriage. Then which vessel you are loading into? You are loading into a vessel nominated by the importer, but you are not arranging for carriage of contract of carriage. In case if the exporter is arranging, because A, it is a practice in this trade, B, the importer is requested, then it will be at the cost and expense and risk of the importer. Exporter has to provide some proof of delivery where the vessel owner or the agent or the carrier or the master certifies that goods have been received on board. What are the responsibilities of the importer? Importer has to obtain import license and customs clearance for transportation to the destination and through another country. Transportation to the destination and for transport of the goods through another country, all related to customs clearance, importer will have to take care. He has to arrange for contract for a carriage of goods from the named shipment port. There is a delivery port to the destination port. Delivery port is a port where the goods are loaded on board. Destination port is a port where beneficiary wants the goods to be reached, and then he has to provide for terms and conditions of the document which will evidence the proof of delivery given by the exporter. Let us turn at free alongside ship. Free alongside ship is less frequently used than FOB. Here the exporter keeps the goods ready for loading alongside the ship. In FOB, the exporter has to load the goods on the vessel nominated by the importer. In FAS, he has to keep the goods alongside the ship nominated by the importer, ready for loading. In FAS, the goods are kept ready for loading. In FOB, goods are loaded onto the named nominated vessel, and then delivery is complete. All other terms are same for FOB and FAS, which means exporter will arrange for export license. He is not obligated for carriage or insurance. He will provide a proof of delivery. That proof of delivery will enable the importer to take the goods and move forward. He will also assist the importer at his risk and expense for getting transport document or insurance document. What the importer will do? Importer will obtain import license. He will arrange for clearance of goods to and through any country so as to reach the destination. Importer will arrange for contract for carriage. Importer will arrange maybe sometimes for insurance, and importer is not obligated to provide any other proof to anybody but accept the proof given by exporter for having delivered the goods. Let us look at now a very other important term, CFR, cost and freight paid to destination. In FOB and FAS, the port is the delivery port, while in CFR the port is destination port. What are the responsibilities of exporter? The delivery occurs or delivery is complete when goods are handed over to the carrier. Goods are handed over to the carrier or procures goods so delivered to the carrier. So then delivery is complete. Then what else the exporter has to do? Exporter has to obtain export license and customs clearance for transportation to or through till it reaches the destination. The exporter also has to procure a contract for carriage of goods up to destination. Exporter has to procure a carriage contract. Carriage contract is arranged with a shipping company to move the goods or carry the goods up to destination. They have to do it at their own risk and expense. At exporters, risk and expense. There is no obligation for any insurance, and they have to provide a transport document as required by the importer. The terms and conditions will be specified by the importer. Such a transport document should be provided. It should enable the importer to claim goods. It should enable them to transfer the title to goods, either by giving a notification to the shipping company or by just handing over the documents. So the transport document should be by endorsement and delivery, transferable or negotiable, so that he can sell the goods in transit. And then if it is issued in multiple originals, full set should be submitted. While looking at the importer's responsibilities, the importer has to arrange for import license and customs clearance for transport through any country, even in case of CFR. The importer is not obligated for insurance or carriage, and the importer has to specify the terms and conditions of the documents required. What document is required? The transport document, which will be evidencing shipment from the delivery port to the destination port and allow the importer to take possession of the goods or to transfer the goods or to sell it, and etc. Now look at the last InCoTerm, CIF, cost, insurance and freight. Cost, insurance and freight paid up to delivery port, where this is the destination port actually. It should be a destination port. CIF is up to destination port. Importer's responsibility is to obtain import license for transport through any country and indicate the terms and conditions of the required documents. What are the required documents? One will be insurance, one will be transport. What is the insurance document? Insurance should be minimum for, in the currency of the credit, it should be for minimum 110% and minimum ICCC cover. The importer may ask for ICCA cover. He may ask for addition of war risk or jettisoning, washing on board risk or strike rivet and civil commission risk or theft, pilferage and non-delivery, TP&D risk, and so many other things he can ask for. If the importer asks for, exporter will have to provide. Otherwise, minimum 110, minimum ICCC, currency of the credit, enable should be there. This insurance document should have something that states the importer is eligible to make a claim directly. It should also say if anybody else is having an insurable interest, they should have a right to make a claim directly. While importer is responsible to tell them whether the insurance policy should carry anything like claims are payable in importer's country, or who is a claim settling agent in importer's country, and in what currency they will settle the claim, and things like that. Importer may ask for additional information or condition to be put into the insurance policy. Likewise, in the transport document, under CIF, the exporter is responsible for procuring a contract for carrying the goods, and they will pay for it. It will be under usual terms and conditions. But the importer can ask for this contract should be having a transferring title to the importer. It should be negotiable. They should be able to sell the goods while in transit. They should be able to take delivery of goods and things like that. And whether charter party is allowed or not, whether it can be non-negotiable CVB, all those information will have to be provided by importer, so that exporter can arrange a suitable document under CIF. Exporter has to also arrange for export licenses and customs clearance. And delivery is complete when goods are delivered on board a named vessel. FOB also, delivery is complete when delivered on board a named vessel. But here, the exporter will arrange for insurance and freight up to destination. In FOB, he will not pay for freight, he will not pay for insurance, he will just deliver on board. And the exporter will provide documents that will enable the importer to take delivery of goods. So this is in brief. We have had a small look at the definitions of these 11 InCoTerms and how the importer and exporter have various different roles or responsibilities, and how the risk and ownership or title is getting transferred, and how the obligations are escalated from Ex Works term to DDP term for the exporter, while it becomes decreasingly lesser for the importer, and things like that. Thanks for watching the video, and we shall meet again on another subject on another day. Thank you.